Shall we get into the news?
Let's do it.
Good evening, Mr. Mr. North and South America, and all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
I'll take the first piece of news. The first piece of news is there is a new game from Portal Games and Ignacy Trzewiczek. It is called Dune House Secrets. Basically, it's detective in the Dune universe. This could
Is Detective the one you like, or is the other one the one you like?
No, Detective is the one I like very much.
Okay. What was it? See, there's two of them that are like basically the same thing.
No, well, Chronicles of Crime is the other one that you're thinking of. But no, I don't think they're that similar.
The Detective is the one that you guys like more.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Because it's kind of stripped down. Chronicles of Crime is the thing where you can lift your phone up and turn around, and it's kind of got an AR thing where you're looking around a room and seeing clues, which is awesome. It's gimmicky, but it's awesome. But the mysteries themselves aren't that great. What makes Detective so good is that they're based on actual crimes. So you
really use the internet to solve them.
Yeah, you do. You at some points you're gonna have to go on their. They have a proprietary internet there where you can look up stuff in their database. You can, send DNA to the lab and it'll come back for you and things like that. And there are also some things where, in one case, for instance, I'm not spoiling much, or I don't think I'm spoiling anything really. At one point, they'll say something about the moon landing or the Apollo 13 or something along those lines, and you go on the internet and Google and find out what night that happened, because that fits into your timeline, and you put together a timeline.
Yeah, that's fun.
It is.
What are we going to be like mentats here, trying to solve like Duke Leto's murder or something?
I mean, it says you are rebels who must solve a series of challenging missions with a finite amount of time and resources. Rebels. I'm not sure what.
Are they sure they got Dune here? No.
I know. Okay. So either this is going to be my two of my favorite things in the whole wide world put together, and it's amazing. Right? Is it going to be two great tastes that taste great together, or is this going to be a misfire? I will say that the House Secrets is going to come with only 3 big adventures and an introductory prologue mission, so not a lot of gameplay for it. Mm-hmm. I will say that Ignacy Trzewiczek is a great designer. I mean, really one of the best up and coming designers of the last 3 or 4 years.
Up and coming? He's been around forever.
Has he been really? I mean,
he owns Portal Games.
Yeah, but up and coming for me, it may be different than up and coming for you. If he hadn't designed a game, if he's only designed a game in the 2010s, that's up and coming for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he started. Yeah, I think like Robinson Crusoe was probably one of his first. That was like 2012 or something like that.
2013, something. Oh,
Pret-a-Porter also. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's been around a while.
Yeah, last 10 years, to me, is still up and coming. But I understand what you're saying. Absolutely. This is definitely one to keep an eye out on. I'm really going to be looking forward to hearing some early reviews of it, because Dune could work really well in this kind of environment, right? You could tell stories in the Dune universe, because Dune is entirely treachery and betrayal and secrets and lies and traitors and all that sort of stuff, and that seems to fit really, really well within the idea of this. It's just they're going to be naturally crafting their own story, and one of the great things about Detective was they didn't have to entirely craft their own story, because they were taking their clues and their situations from actual crimes, and that was what made it so good. Now that they have to somewhat from whole cloth weave a new story, that often is where game designers get into a little bit of difficulty, because it's actually a narrative, it's actually a writing skill. More than it is
that's a deal breaker for me, because the minute I'm watching somebody do what I do for a living, I can't relax, and I'm back in work mode. So.
This is exactly my point, and we also we're hard judges for our own field of endeavor, right? I mean, it's very rare.
Yeah, even if I'm not trying to judge it, I'm noticing if things are good or bad, I'm rewriting in my head, and I'm all of a sudden not doing the opposite of writing, which is why I play board games.
And there's a whole bunch of us that feel that way.
But some people love it.
So many of us in our particular group are writers, right? And we'll be like, oh God, I wish they didn't do it that way. I wish that you can't help but be an editor a little bit and say, yeah, I wish they had done that a slightly different way. Which one of the reasons that you need to play detective, because one of the reasons I love it so much is it was one of the first games that I played where I didn't have any complaints about the writing, and I didn't because these are based on actual crimes and actual cases, and the clues that you're uncovering and the way you're solving the crimes are the way it actually happened, and that's interesting.
Right. Oh, I'd give it a whirl.
All right, what's the next piece we got?
Next up, we got a new edition of Carpe Diem. This is a Stefan Feld game that I didn't play. I came very close to playing it and buying it because it was very well reviewed by Rado and a couple other people. But it just didn't look quite heavy enough for me to purchase. I sort of have the Jennifer rule of being very careful with anything below a 3. Just because it's just not my jam usually.
I haven't played it either.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't played it either, but from what I've heard from people that like this, Stefan Feld had this period when he could do no wrong, and then he had kind of a fallow field period where he was still putting out designs, but people weren't just crazy about them anymore. And now he's having somewhat of a resurgence, right? His games are starting to be really sought after, and he's got his groove back.
Bonfire is pretty great.
Yeah, exactly. My understanding is that Carpe Diem was the beginning of the return of Stefan Feld. People were like, "Oh wow, have you tried the Stefan Feld?" And people were like, "Really, Stefan Feld?" And they were like, "No, Carpe Diem really is quite good. You should try it. You should definitely."
Well,
check
it was wildly ugly, and that's coming from someone who doesn't really care much about it. And no disrespect to the artist at all. It just it didn't look like the art budget was up to the snuff of modern Euros.
Yep.
Not that the artist wasn't up to the talent level necessary. It's just the cardboard was thin and things were a little washed out, and the printing it just didn't seem up to snuff. And it seems that they would agree with me because they have released a brand new version with very striking box art and new components and new artwork. I think they realized the game was better than the art package that it was afforded. And so they're trying again.
Not bad.
Yeah. Definitely. It should be, I think, the beginning of February is when it's coming to America. I think it's already been released in Canada.
Yeah, February 5th should be the date that you can get it here in the States. And
I think it's an Amazon date, so, grain of salt, but check it out.
Of course. Next up, Canvas. Canvas is a 2021 release that is coming out and getting a lot of buzz. Okay, this is a light game. Let's get that right out of the bat. Right now, its weight is 1.75, but I'm bringing it up for a reason, and that is that, first of all, it is a game about art. And I love that it's one of those, when Wingspan came out, I'm like, oh my God, why hasn't anybody done a game with this theme, right? It's perfect. It was just amazing and wonderful and really took a good game and took it to a next level because it took a subject matter that wasn't dealt with a lot. And in Canvas, you are artistically layering paintings to create a masterpiece, right? And you're in an art competition. The other cool thing about it is, first of all, it's got these little palettes and it's got these little easels, which remind me actually of the easel that's in Gallerist.
Gallerist, yeah.
But everybody has their own. And the really cool thing about it is the way you make the art is
that is pretty cool.
Mystic Veil, I think, was one of the first games to do this, where you have clear cards that go into a sleeve. And each card adds an element to it. So by putting multiple cards in that sleeve, you are creating something bigger, right? In Mystic Veil, I'm adding a special bonus to this character, or I'm adding a location and all sorts of stuff that you could do in this. In this case, you're literally creating the work of art by adding foreground and background elements and color and.
All right, that's cool. That's actually the best use I've seen of the transparent sort of card building thing. That's interesting. And actually, it has that Agricola feel at the end of like, even if you lost or something, you made something beautiful.
I like my art, exactly, the tangibility factor, as I call it. I'm always on the lookout for something that is a tangibly great game, right? Tangibility. If the gameplay is good enough And by the way, this is supposed to be about a 30-minute game. 30-minute game. This might be one of those real gems for casual gamers. This might be something that you could get the family to play.
I'm always looking for a game I could play with my mom too, and she's a visual artist, and I think she would enjoy that aspect of it.
Very well could be. So keep an eye out. And Rado did a review of it and loved it. I can't tell when I hear a Rado review what I'm going to think of it. There's a disconnect there.
Yeah, of course.
But I would love to check this out, and I'm looking forward to knowing more about Canvas.
Yeah, I'll check it out. That's very cool. Very cool. Wouldn't have been on my radar otherwise. In some good news that came off some bad news, Ion Game Design, which is for the most part the home of Phil Eklund Games, had announced last week that I'll just catch you up briefly. Phil Eklund is a person who says a lot of things that are scientifically contentious and at worst racist, and he made some non-factual statements about COVID, or at least was entering into the foray of a conversation about COVID that is not useful at all on the internet.
Matt, may I jump in for just a quick sec? I've
Go
decided in 2021 that I'm not going to pussyfoot around the word lie anymore. He is spouting lies, and I'm going to start saying that when I feel that it is absolutely that.
Yeah, they are lies to me. They are not lies to him. I don't think he is. I think there are people who say things they know are false in order to deceive you, and then there are people who have allowed themselves to be deceived and are imparting non-facts as truth. I would imagine he's not aware he's lying, and for some reason just trying to I don't know.
Yeah. I agree.
But regardless, he said some nonsense. People got mad, as they should have, when you make nonsense statements on the internet, which is a choice always to do that, and consequences may follow. And that's not anything to do with freedom of speech. And Ion Games decided that from now on, they would start giving the opposite scientific opinion, or the scientific opinion, to his footnotes or essays in his essays. And people were like, that's absurd. We don't need, if that'd be like if somebody made a flat earth statement, we don't need to actually prove the earth is round. We can just ignore them. Yes. And people were a little up in arms about that. And so they finally just made the decision we're just not going to have his footnotes and essays in anymore. His, as they called them, I think, non-factual footnotes. They're not just going to lose all footnotes from Phil Eklund, but they will no longer be publishing his essays or non-factual footnotes in their games from now on. Which just seems, it's just, if he wants to publish stuff like that, do it yourself.
Yeah, and the issue being, of course, that as many people have said, that when creationists always want to debate, right? And scientists eventually realized, by debating, we're giving status to their argument that it hasn't earned, right? Yeah. That you're legitimizing something that doesn't deserve that level of legitimacy. And so I'm really happy that Ion Games did this. Yeah,
agreed. I'll jump ahead to one news story here because it's slightly attached to it as well. So in further disturbing news, Fun Again Games, which is one of the larger Kickstarter distributors, as well as a game shop in and of themselves, had past tense a CEO or president named Jeff DeBoer, who made some genuinely disgusting comments on a Facebook thread defending Phil Eklund to Jessica Cassidy, who is a marketing director, designer, host, just an important person in our hobby. You probably recognize her from many heavy cardboard videos, but just absolutely misogynistic, disgusting things under the cowardly attempt at a joke, and I'm glad it was pointed out because it was gross. It was super gross, and he has stepped down, aka I'm imagining fired, but that's me imagining, not something they've said, from Fun Again Games.
Yeah,
We do not revel in somebody losing their job here in any way, shape, or form. But if you had seen these comments, you would not buy from this company anymore. And they realized that was going to happen and decided that they would like to continue as a company. And to do that, it would need to be without him.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. He was not fired because you can't fire the person who owns the company. He is the owner of Fun Again Games. So he has been replaced by his management team. But for me personally, listen, it's easy for me to say because I don't buy from Fun Again Games. I mean, it's been a long time since I have.
Well, you may not know you do because a lot of the Kickstarters that you may back are just distributed by them. They're massive in the Kickstarter world.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But I will do my best to avoid Fun Again Games. I appreciate the fact that they are changing their CEO and they're changing their they're taking the keys to Twitter away and so on and so forth. I think that's social media accounts, client relations, management, and operations. I'm glad that they're changing that, but the man who is profiting from this is still that same person. Right, he is still the owner of the company. So
it looks like the I think they said the 25 employees who work there, they all came together and said we do not stand by this anymore, but we still rely on our jobs and would like to keep working. And this person does not represent us in any way, shape, or form. And so I don't know. It seems like they took the right steps there.
100%. I'm not saying they haven't. All I'm saying is that a similar thing happened with CrossFit. Right, earlier this year, there was a problem with CrossFit, and the owner and CEO of CrossFit stepped down, and that didn't end the problem because people realized that he was still the one raking in the money for this, and eventually he had to sell his a stake in the company so that the company could continue, and that's what they did in that situation. I'm not telling anybody what to do by any stretch of the imagination. I definitely feel for the full-time employees of Fun Again Games. These people do not deserve any of the problems that have been created by this. That is for sure. So that's all I got to say about that.
We can jump back to the news we skipped there. You want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. Sagrada Legacy. We don't know much about it. All we know is I love Sagrada as a game. I have no idea what a legacy element to what is a fairly abstract glass window making game would be. But I'm always intrigued to hear. I will say that their expansions for Sagrada have been pretty good. I really quite like them. So Floodgate Games has announced that at Gen Con 2021, which is good. That means this summer, if it even happens, there's going to be a new edition or expansion for Sagrada called Sagrada Legacy. I'm looking forward to that. I'll also say we have news for people who are fans of Russian railroads. Alfred, are you listening? That dude is playing that game like 10 times a day, every day. No, that's an exaggeration, but he's playing it every day, pretty much. It's amazing. It's amazing. He's so good at it now. So the German publisher Higspiel has stated that Ultimate Railroads, which is a Russian Railroads big box collection, I don't know, after seeing Anachrony, I don't think we can call anything else big box anymore, but they are releasing a new big box collection that is going to include Russian railroads, German railroads, probably the American railroads, small variant, and the new Asian railroads expansion, as well as a solo variant, and that should be coming out in August 2021. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think those games are great.
Yeah, it's funny that, Alfred has gone very deep in the base game, but I don't know if I'd ever play the base game again. It's great, but I felt like German Railroads kind of replaced it. I really liked German Railroads a lot more.
The addition of coal in German Railroads, I thought, did make it a much more interesting experience. And listen, the games are still multiplayer solitaire, which is a problem for me. But yeah, I agree with you. German Railroads was superior for me, for sure.
Yeah. And now there's a couple more. I own American Railroads. I never even played it.
Yeah, I haven't either, actually. Own it, haven't played it.
Crazy.
Get that to the table.
All right, that's the news.
That is the news.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.